The Green Knight is a striking parable. Let's discuss. The Green Knight stars Dev Patel, Alicia Vikander, Joel Egerton, and is directed by David Lowery. What's up, guys? It's time for another 2021 review, and there was a time not too long ago where it felt like we weren't getting that many movies, and now it feels like I'm getting too many movies. And if I could give you an example, I recorded a review for Old a week ago, still haven't edited it. So that's what I'm dealing with. There's a lot of movies coming out. And as a matter of fact, before I went and seen this movie, I looked on my my AMC app, and there's like, Jungle Cruise, this, and there were a couple other movies. And I can't review everything. I'm definitely not going to review Jungle Cruise. Probably not going to even go see that. But Green Knight caught my eye for sure. One, because it's an A24 movie. And two, it's got a great cast there, And three, it's like a period piece. I like those movies, kind of like Kingdom of Heaven. Like, people don't talk about Kingdom of Heaven enough, but that movie is phenomenal. Like, really, Kingdom of Heaven deserves so much more credit than it gets. And it made me think of that movie when I saw the previews for this movie. So anyway, this is an A24 movie, for sure. But yeah, let's get into this review, okay? Our main character is Gawain, played by Dev Patel, and he's just a simple man at the beginning of this movie, right? And there's this character called the Green Knight. He definitely looks like a creature, It kind of reminded me of Groot a little bit, in a period piece. And he is like a king, even though he's a knight. But this guy has a presence, okay? But at the beginning of the movie, Gawain has to duel this Green Knight character.
O greatest of kings, let one of your knights try to land a blow against me. Indulge me in this game.
I will meet thee.
Without giving any spoilers away, there's an outcome to that, and then Gawain has to meet the Green Knight again a year later, okay? That's all I'm gonna say, because I don't wanna give anything away. It's actually a very simple story, but it's directed in such a beautiful way. There's a lot of like open space in the movie, time to breathe. This movie feels like an artistic expression. And I think there's different forms of artistic expression. Sometimes there is a lot of air to breathe, and you can kind of consume things, take things in, form your own conclusions as to what they mean. And then sometimes you got so many things coming at you, and you have to like kind of digest it after. So I like that about this movie, that there's a lot of space to breathe. And I feel like the message of this movie is pretty out there in the front. This has a lot of parallels with like religion and power, and how power and greed can consume you. And there was one scene in this movie that was pivotal, I think, and it was when the character, the lady, I guess, played by Alicia Vikander, she talks about the colors red and green, and this movie's called The Green Knight. And she talks about how red is like the color of lust, and then green is what happens after the fact. The result of the damage that's caused by lust. And really that one scene kind of sets the table for, at the end of the day, what this movie's about, When you have all this power, how are you gonna deal with it? You can deal with it in so many different ways. It doesn't mean necessarily that if you are rich or if you have power that you're necessarily a bad person, but you're gonna have a lot more responsibilities and a lot more temptations that come your way. I guess with great power comes great responsibility. So you could take like each character in this movie and assign them your own title. Because Gawain, he's kind of like, I guess, a test case. Like, what if the gods wanted to test somebody? This is stuff like right out of the Bible. Like how God wanted to test Abraham. I'm no expert on the Bible and everything, but I know some of the parables, some of the stories. You could definitely draw parallels to stories like that with this movie. And, just watching Gawain go through this journey a year later and seeing how he's going to react to everything. He's going to be tested. He's going to be seduced. And so along his journey, he's going to come upon these other characters. Like Barry Cogan, he plays this like savage kid. And he just wants to see, hey, are you going to help me? I have no money. And at this point, Gawain, he's high in stature, So there's all these little tests along the way. And by the way, Barry Keoghan immediately stuck out to me because he was in Killing of a Sacred Deer. And that movie has always stayed with me because of his like haunting and chilling performance. And he's great in this. But then, you know, he comes upon like Joel Edgerton and his wife, played by Alicia Vikander. And again, just to test him. I'm being very careful with my assessment here because, again, I kind of want you guys to go into this not knowing too much, but just giving you the idea that this is kind of a parable, testing a character to see how he will react. And there's a lesson in this movie for sure. And some nice surprises, especially like in the last act. But just to foot stomp the direction by David Lowery, like I said, this is an A24 movie. David Lowery, who did A Ghost Story, which is a movie that I've been meaning to watch, and I haven't watched it, but after watching this, I definitely want to check that movie out now. But I can compare this to so many other like A24 movies because you know how those movies just have like a certain vibe to them. They're very patient movies. They're very artistic. And you know, this is not like your big normal Hollywood movie by like, say, Universal Studios or even 20th Century Fox. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a different flavor. It's a more artistic flavor. And I do like that. But jumping over to the cons, not to take anything away from the message of this movie and the artistic expression of this movie, it's beautifully directed. And I cannot take that away from it. But the big thing for me is like, will I ever watch this again? Probably not, you know? And that's not a bad thing. It's just the rewatchability value of a movie like this, not so high. And there are other A24 movies that I would definitely watch again. But this one particularly, not as much. Like, I think Hereditary, that's a movie that's much more accessible, even though it's completely balls crazy and extremely well directed by Ari Aster. You know, I think Ari Aster and, you know, Robert Eggers, those are guys that are still like at the top of their game. No matter which studio they use. They just happen to use A24. But Dev Patel, I did not really praise him enough. He was fantastic in this role. You know, this is a character that has to go through a lot of different emotions throughout. He definitely has an arc, you know, because this is the character that's tested along the way. And I think his performance is portrayed with a lot of depth. You know, he gave a lot of depth to a character that you could look at as kind of one-dimensional because of the story. It's kind of a simple story, but he just adds a lot of depth to the story. So Dev Patel was amazing in this. All the actors were amazing in this. So I'm going to give it a low purchase worthy, okay? And it probably deserves higher than that, but like I said, I just don't think I'll watch this movie again, but it definitely has a lot of things about it that stay with you. And keep in mind, I just got out of the theater. My rating might go up, you know, it might be a movie that I can't get out of my head like a week from now. So I'm wondering what's going to happen there. But yeah, still a great movie. And I love to see a director at the top of his game. And David Lowery, phenomenal direction all the way through in this movie. So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on The Green Knight in the comments. Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on all my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. And Drumdum out.